Sid's Bike Corner. Today we're going to install a single piece crank and an unsealed bottom bracket in a 20-inch BMX. Alright, to start we need to make sure we have all of our parts and our tools ready and accessible easily. As you can see, I have here. The tools you're going to need is a hammer and a pair of channel locks or large adjustable crescent wrench. A full brand new bottom bracket with bearings. And to start, we have to put our sprocket or chain wheel on our crank. And we start out by sliding the sprocket face first over the crank. Sometimes it's a snug fit, and sometimes it's really easy just to get on. Second, we take our spacer washer and slide it over onto the back side of the crank like so. And then we take our drive side race, which is identifiable by the 3 marks that are used to wrench it off and on, and you slide it in like so. Now it tightens on to the right, clockwise. And depending on if it's a new bottom bracket or old, it'll either be difficult or it'll be easy. So you take your pliers and you just wrench it on. When you get it tight, you just want to make sure it's snug. You don't have to really torque it down. And then there, the crank is on there. And the sprocket is secure. And it looks good. Alright, now for the next step will be to install the bearing cups. For this, you will need a hammer, and I like to use some kind of covered pliers or just anything to help. You put it over the bearing cup as you're putting it in, and you hammer on the middle of the wrench to help evenly distribute the pressure so that it goes in evenly. Trying to hit it one side at a time will normally just keep it wobbling around. So, as you see, the cup fits in like that. I like to take the wrench. As you can see, it's wobbling. So if you take the wrench and put it in the middle, it'll go in easier and it sits in place better. You just hammer it in until it's flush. And then you flip the side. Let's see, as you see, if you try to do it like that, it's not going to go in right. Take the wrench, pop it in. And now our bearing cups are in and they're straight. Now the next step is the installation of the crank, and this step you are going to get a little dirty, so it's nice to have a semi-clean rag and some kind of grease rag. We're going to be putting the bearings, I like to do, onto the crank first. So I prefer to grease the inside race first. It helps the bearings sit in place. I use a butter knife because it helps smoothly and neatly get the grease on there, and helps keep your hands clean. As you can see, just the right amount is all you need. You don't need a whole lot, but you don't need too little. You just smear it on real good. And then you drop the bearing with the cage back, bearings out. It just sits right in there, as you can see. And then if you like, put just a little bit of grease over the bearings themselves to make sure that they're greased well. Like so. Alright, and the next step, which helps, is grease up the 9 drive side race. Put a little grease on it to help the bearings stay in place, which helps installation because they will move around a lot if they're not greased up. Make sure you got enough grease on there, because a well-greased bottom bracket is going to spin real nice. As you can see. Yet again, you put the bearings with the back side onto the race and squish it down. They will get a little hairy and dirty if you're using a rag. It does not really matter that much. And then put just a light bit of grease over the outside of the bearings, like so. And that's how they should look. Now the next step, and pretty much final step, is the installation of the crank itself. You want to make sure that when you're putting it in, you put it in non-drive side into the right side of the bottom bracket, and it'll be easier, because if you try to turn it like this and put it in like that, the crank and the sprocket are going to hit on the seat tube, and it's going to make a lot of trouble. As you can see here, take the crank, you put it in, and because I grease my bearings, they stay still, and blam, it goes right in. Then we flip it over, and you hold the sprocket and crank in place with your legs, like so. Okay, and next we take our greased up bearings and race, and we slide it over the crank arm and into place. Now we screw it on counterclockwise this time. It's to the left. As you can see, it's starting to get a little tighter. Sometimes it helps to have a screwdriver or your grease butter knife, but now you can see the crank is pretty tight. Alright, and as you can see, the crank spins nice and it's tight. And the last step is you take your lock washer that has that little notch on it, and you look for the spot on the crank, I don't know how, you probably can't see it, where there's a slit in the threads. And you put that notch down over it into the slit, and that keeps that from spinning free. And then you take the crank nut, I don't know the exact word for it, and yet again it goes counterclockwise, which looks clockwise on the camera, but it is to the left when you're working on it. And you tighten it on there, and here's where your pliers or crescent wrench that works better, but I don't have one right now. And you just get it nice and tight, because it will loosen up as it rides, and you will have to maintenance it. But there you go. That's the installation of a single piece crank and an unsealed bottom bracket. I hope you enjoyed, and hope you learned something. Well, thank you for watching. More bike tips and maintenance videos to come. If you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to ask. And anything you want to see, let me know. Bye.